First, now I'll turn things over to the man himself. 24-1, 17 wins by knockout. He was the former 154-pound world champion from Sydney, Australia, as he returns to the ring after his first career defeat in what was a tremendous bout that we saw one of the most gruesome cuts in recent boxing history against Sebastian Fundora. Lost a very close split decision. And I know he's looking to get that one back. And now he has another test in front of him. So let's turn things over to Tszyu. Tim, welcome in onto this virtual press conference. And, what are your thoughts? I'm sure you couldn't be more excited to get things going October 19th.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. It's another big opportunity for myself to come back to the States and to be in front of the big audience and to be fighting for another world title. Florida it is, and I can't wait to grab the opportunity with both hands.
Now I know you're in Las Vegas now. You've been away from home in Australia, so you've been here over the past few months. You're getting set for October 19th, another world title. How has training camp been going? I know fans want to know the cut. Is it fully healed? Are you ready to go? You try to get back earlier in this year in August against again a very tough young undefeated opponent in Virgil Ortiz, but medically you weren't able to do so, but now you're able to ramp up again for October. So how is everything going? How's the cut? How's camp
Yeah,
been?
yeah, everything's going good. Luckily everything's cleared a long time ago, so I was ready. I was bouncing and I was ready to get in the ring. For me, I don't like to sit still and do nothing. I'd like to go back to back fights and keep myself busy. And that's what I'm all about, like the old school throwback top fighter. And then I just want to get in there. So again, I got another task ahead of me. I'm lucky I got a date, fighting for another big world title. And yeah, just continuing on that legacy.
Now, before we get to your fight on October 19th, have you had a chance to watch your last fight back? It was your first defeat of your career. What did you take away from that performance? Because it was a heroic performance, because a lot of guys, when they suffered the cut you suffered, would have probably called the fight and stopped it right away. But you decided to keep on pushing through it and almost came away with the victory. It's a very controversial, narrow split decision loss that you suffered. What were your thoughts on that performance? And, what did you learn from that defeat?
Yeah, there's plenty to learn. It was a close fight. I think we gave the fans bang for their buck. We definitely put on a show, and that's what boxing's all about is putting on a display of two warriors going at it. And I'm sure me and Fundora we both gave the tick to everyone there. Looking back at the fight, I think it was a cracker of a fight. Uh, what went wrong? I could go into detail, but basically, I feel I had to reset, be able to put emotions aside due to the cut. But it is what it is. I took the loss on the chin, and we move on, and we're fighting on for the next world title now. So that's all that's in my mind right now.
Now that's what I love about you, Tim, and I think a lot of fight fans love about you. You suffered that cut. People assume, okay, he's going to be out for a very long time. Then we get word you're trying to fight August 3rd. You wanted one of the baddest guys out there in Virgil Ortiz. That was going to be a fight fans were looking forward to. Then you were medically clear. Then you're like, let me get another one of the top guys, champion in Bakhram Murtazaliev. What is it about that mentality that you're like, what, I want to get in the ring ASAP? Is it, you like to stay active? It's, if I can't get this guy, I want this guy. If I can't get that guy, I want the next top guy. What is it about that mentality that you have?
Yeah, it's just there's no fear. There's none of that at all. It doesn't exist in my bloodstream at all, you know. Um, I just want the biggest and best challenges out there, and whoever they call the bad guy, uh, give him to me, feed him
Well,
to me, I guess.
well, Bakram is certainly a bad guy. He's undefeated, 22-0. What is it about him that can present a difficult challenge for you? And how can you become another world champion over Bakram?
I haven't really. watched much into it. I know what he brings. He brings the heat, and you hit him, and he keeps coming. You know, those type of styles, they're hard. They're hard because they got the dog in them. You know, some fighters they don't have the dog. They might be skillful, but this guy he's got the dog in him, and that always presents a tremendous task ahead. But yeah, I believe in my abilities, and everything's going according to plan. Nothing's in this. Nothing is supposed to be easy on the road to the top. There's no such thing as an easy camp or as an easy fight. So you want to get to the top and you want to get the big bucks. You got to go through the fire. And right now it's all about going through that fire.
Now, if you are able to be successful against Bakhram and become a world champion, the IBF Super welterweight champion, what does that say about you and your legacy? Becoming another world champion in a very loaded division. We talk, obviously Crawford's in there, you are in there, Fundora's in there. Spence has talked, he's coming up to 54. Jermell Charlo, the former undisputed champion. I mean, there's so many top guys in this division, and to be a two-time world champion in this division, what would that say about you?
Yeah, it's to be mentioned with those type of names. That's what it's all about, and that's where I want to be is to be the shot caller and be calling out these type of big fights, and you do that by having a strap on your belt. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being mentioned with all those boys.
All right, now we have plenty of media members joining us now, so we'll turn things over to Andrew Roberts as he will be directing the Q&A from media members joining us on our virtual presser. So Andrew, take it away.
Thanks very much, Miguel. Our first question is going to come from Keith Eidick with Uncrowned. Keith, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thank you, Andrew. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Great. Tim, could you take us through what it was like for you when you suffered that cut that night? When did you realize it was as bad as it was, and how did you fight through it?
The first initial reaction was, this ain't a normal cut. As soon as it happened, I looked down and there was a fountain of blood, and I've never had that before. Usually there's a couple of drips and then it starts dripping a little bit more, and then maybe sometimes gets a little bit in your eyes, but no, this was different. I felt like definitely hit the vein, and my initial reaction was that, how am I going to get through this? Like, I was feeling so confident. What's the task of getting through this? And then as soon as the round started, it just completely blindsided me. And after a couple of rounds, I sort of got used to it, and I was able to adapt a little bit.
Tim, in hindsight, was there any regret about not maybe pushing for the fight to be declared a no contest, because it obviously hindered the way that you fought throughout the rest of the fight?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. For me, it was, like, if you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose that way. I'm not gonna try and survive, and I was there to win. I was there to win, and the only way to win for me was trying to smash my opponent, and to just say pull out, I guess, or just forfeit, I guess. That's not my thing. It's not in my blood. I'd rather die in that ring, and that's the mentality I got.
Understood. My last thing for you, Tim, is just did you think you won the fight? It was a very close fight. Seemingly could have gone either way.
I think it could have gone either way. I haven't rewatched it. I remember a couple rounds. I thought I was landing the cleaner shots. I feel like I was definitely hurting him a bit more. But he stuck with the game plan. He was tapping me all night with his long arms.
We'll move on to Greg Dudley. Greg, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
So Tim, when we talk about you, man, the thing I always wonder, where does that resilience come from, man? Because we all know how great your dad was, man, but you talk like you came from nothing, man. How did you get this kind of mindset?
I guess it was more of like a Soviet Union type growing up in that type of childhood, like His his beliefs and they sort of made us who we are. So I guess in that certain way, yeah.
Yeah, and my last question would be, speaking on that, man, when you talk about boxing, did you think it would be how it is? You know, seeing your dad, did you think it was going to be like this for yourself? You know, you already became a champion, you know, known around the world. Did you think it would be like this for you?
In terms of what exactly? Like the hard
As
work? I
far as
knew
the
it.
success, as far as the success, because everyone knows that they want to do something, but to have the kind of success you had starting out, man, it's just been terrific watching it.
Yeah, well, I'm not satisfied at the moment, so I can't talk about success because there's a long way to go to where I want to reach. So we're still at the bottom ground.
That's
All
all I
right.
have. I appreciate the champ.
All right. Thank you, Gregory. Our next questions are going to come from Antonio Baez. Antonio, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Yes, thank you. Tim, obviously October 19th, you got a big fight, a lot on the line. Is the ultimate goal to unify at your weight class?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Unify and yeah, make the big fights happen.
Now, Tim, is there any destination that you haven't fought yet? I know you wanted Las Vegas, you mentioned before, done that. Now you'll be fighting in Florida. Is there
Yeah.
anything else on your radar?
Yeah. Las Vegas again would be pretty cool. But just America, man. I love being here. I love the vibe from the fans. You know, like it's mad here. You feel alive. And I went to the Canelo fight the other day, and that was awesome. Seeing all the Mexican fans, and yeah, it's just unreal. To be a part of something like that, that'd be something unreal for me.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Antonio. For any media that have questions, as a reminder, please hit that raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. Miguel, we'll throw it back to you for a question.
Tim, you know, since you've been out, you know, your last fight was at the end of March, and obviously you got the fight October 19th. But what has been your assessment so far from your fight to now of how the 154-pound division's been shaping out, and what's been your assessment on some of the fights that have happened? We've seen Crawford finally make his foray into the 154-pound division. We've heard, you know, that some news that Jermell Charlo's going to be coming back. We've heard Spence is coming back. You know, so what are your thoughts on how this division is shaping out?
Yeah, I think it's red hot. You know, like back in the days, I think used to be middleweight. Then it was the welterweight with Mayweather dominating to a certain extent. But I think now it's the super welterweight division, red hot names. Some big matchups to be made, and you know when you think about it, let's say in the near future, there's going to be so many crazy matchups to be made. It's so exciting, and it's a pleasure of mine.
All right, I'll throw it back to Andrew, see if we have any more questions from media.
Sure. Our next media questions will come from Cynthia Conti. Cynthia, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hi, Tim. Just, you know, we saw you in the ring, obviously, with that cut, that really bloody gash. Now, for the fans that wanted to see you, continue, what more do you want to show the fans that are going to be tuning in October if they've never even seen you before?
Like a badass performance. Just make it quite simple. Relentless, ruthless, and something that shocks people. Shocks my opponent as well.
All right. Well, best of luck to you. We can't wait to see you back in the ring. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia. Our next question is going to come from Gail Falkenthal. Gail, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you, Tim, for speaking with us. We're very happy to have you in the southwestern part of the United States. I'm not too far from you in California, but you do represent, in a lot of ways, Australian boxing to the United States and to fans around the world. And I've got a two-part question. Do you feel that you do represent your countrymen and women and Australian combat sports around the world? And second, surely your fans, while you're here in the United States, are glad to see you succeed, but do you intend to also go back and make sure that your longtime fans are able to see you as you rise through the sport?
Yeah, I think it is important to remain connected with the Aussie fans, because they're the ones that put me into this position. And when I go into a fight, I feel like I've got a whole country behind me. So it's a good feeling to have that. And yeah, of course, I'd love to be back and fight in Australia just for the fans. I guess that's the only reason. Yeah, it means a lot.
And could you comment also on it seems like quite a surge of talent coming from Australia into the, higher reaches of some of these divisions, both men and women.
Yeah, for sure. Like we're a small little island. We're deserted from the rest of the world. Like anywhere we go, it's like 10-hour flight minimum to even to LA. It's like 15 hours. So we're a small, tiny little island, but yeah, we got some talent out there. I think a lot of fighters are hungry. We got this stigma that Aussies are just tough bastards that just fight. But yeah, we like to have a crack, and there's a few of us that actually know what we're doing. So it's good to be on top of that with all the rest of the Australian combat athletes.
Well, sometimes there's something to be said for having a bit of a chip on your shoulder to fuel things. Thank you very much, and best of luck to you in your next
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Gail. Our next question is going to come from Parvis, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to butcher your last name, Parvis. Please, you can ask your questions.
Yeah, no worries. How you going? Hi, team. Look, in follow-up to the question just asked by Gail, so your brother Nikita, during the fight week for his fight against Cohen here in Sydney in August, he said he was happy for you, to fight Bakhram Murtazaliev and get another world title shot. So the question actually is about him, about Nikita. He's now 26 years old, 10-0. Any plans you can share about his potential debut in the United States, or he will continue fighting in Australia for the nearest future? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Nikita. I think he's doing pay-per-view in Australia, so it's so early in his career and he's already on a pay-per-view platform. So it's hard to to just completely disappear and come to America when you're already a mega star in Australia. So I think for the moment, I think he's continuing on in Australia, but in the near future, yeah, for sure you'll see Nikita in America, and he brings a style that a lot of Americans would love.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Parvis. We're going to go back to Keith Eidick from Uncrowned. Keith, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thanks, Andrew. Tim, as Miguel mentioned earlier in the call, there was a point when you, of course, accepted this fight against Virgil Ortiz. People are excited about the fight, but maybe surprised that you were taking a fight so soon after such a bad cut. Can you take us through that process where you thought you were going to be able to fight on August 3rd, and then how you were told that you shouldn't fight that soon? Can you take us through that whole timeline?
Yeah, well, what happened? I came back from America 2 weeks after my fight against Fundora, got my stitches out, then got the call about Virgil Ortiz. I didn't even think about it. Yes, of course, what an opportunity. I can't wait, The next day I book a trip to Thailand to start my pre-training camp. I trained in Thailand for 2 weeks, and then I came back. I needed to get clearance off the doctor about the cut, as I just started training. And then, yeah, the doctor said basically not yet. It's not cleared yet.
Tim, how many stitches did you get overall?
Oh, I forgot. I think it was like 15.
Oh, only 15. Okay. And when were you cleared for sparring, when you were finally able to spar again?
I forgot the exact timeline, but it was probably like 3 weeks before the supposed date that I was supposed to fight against Virgil.
Okay, so probably July sometime then, right? Like early July, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. When was the fight? August.
It was August 3rd.
Yes, yeah. So I think it was mid-July.
Were you a little nervous? I know you have headgear on and everything. Were you a little nervous the first time you sparred or anything, or no?
No, I made sure to follow the doctors and made sure that everything clears up. Because honestly, when I first for the first maybe 6-7 weeks, it was still a little bit raw, and I've got my skin's keloid scarring, so it doesn't exactly heal. It doesn't cover up straight away exactly, so that's why it took a little bit extra. I feel like.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
All right, thank you, Keith. Our last media questions are going to come from Jay Coates. We'll go back to Jay. Jay, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Tim, I love your career. I was a supporter of your father as well. In your last fight, my question to you is, did you feel though that you did enough to win? And if not, what do you feel though that you needed to do to actually conceal that win?
Probably not get jabbed as much. Easier said than done, and yeah, and probably throw maybe a few more extra punches around that land a bit more cleaner.
Okay. My second question is, man, you're taking a tough fight on your comeback, man. What made you do that instead of taking a soft touch? What made you want to just get right back up in there?
I feel like there's no such thing as soft touches, especially at this level. You know,
Okay.
like you got to give the respect to everyone, and you know, like we're all the same anyway. So we all got two hands, two legs. No, there's no fighter that's a little bit different.
Excellent answer. I appreciate you, man. Much success.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Jay. We actually had one more hand raised here. David Griezmann from Boxing Scene. David, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thank you so much. Tim, you'd mentioned earlier that if you were going to lose, you want to lose the way that you did as opposed to point out with a no contest. But still, what was the disappointment that you felt taking your first pro loss?
Just losing the belt and being able to, you know, like it feels like you gotta get back to the drawing board. Like there were so many plans, future plans, from that fight. Of course, for after a victory, but yeah, you sort of go back to the drawing board and you I guess you don't start again, but you see what other options there are and stuff like that.
Thank you. And with that in mind, the fact that you had wanted to have the Virgil Ortiz fight happen and it didn't happen, what were you feeling when you got that unfortunate news that it couldn't?
I was upset, you know, especially when I went to Thailand and did a little pre-training camp. Flew my dad over, and yeah, I was in a pretty good condition. I was ready to go, so I was devastated.
Thank you very much.
All right, David, thank you for those questions. And thank you to all the media that joined us today. We appreciate you taking the time and for your questions.